Making the Network. My name's Stuart Brisgell. This is David Solomon, where we bring you unfiltered, uncensored conversation on a wide range of topics. Our podcast is dedicated on giving a platform to express opinions, share thoughts, experiences, ideas, and hear from a variety of perspectives, and clearly an honest opinion. Join us as we dive into the latest pop culture, politics, and so much more. From rants about absurdity and modern life to discussions about deeper dives into issues affecting society. At the Rant Network, we got you covered. So sit back, relax, and join us on this discovery, this journey. David, we were talking about Griner, the NBA Russian prisoner, for a long time. We talked about how they got her out and left other people behind. And this is a woman who liked taking a knee when it came to celebrating the national anthem in a game. This annoys me in general, that if you don't like where you live, maybe you should find another place to live. And the NBA and the WNBA has been a breeding ground for some of the most toxic American culture or lack of American culture for many years now. Right? And from Kaepernick moving all the way up, from football to basketball. Yes, David, you can chuckle. David, what's your opinion on this?
I love when you try to talk sports because I know it's not your strength. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Britney Griner is the tallest basketball player in the WNBA today. She plays for the Phoenix Mercury. And amongst other things, back in July of 2020, she said that she, didn't think the national anthem should be played in games. And there are people who believe that maybe it's time to get rid of the anthem from the games. But what she said was, and I will correct Stuart a little bit, she didn't want to take a knee. She just simply said she wouldn't stand. She wouldn't stand. And if she says if they get, she would not even be on the court. She'd walk off the court. If she would not be even for present if the anthem was played. So, you gotta, and everybody's allowed to change their mind, but she was pretty vocal. And when, Britney Griner, who has, represents a lot of other, interests, well, at one point I ranted about the fact that there's a pay disparity, and it's unfortunate that women have to go to Russia to go play basketball to get some additional coin. And back in February 2022, that's exactly what Britney Griner was doing, except she was caught with, vape canisters with cannabis oil in her luggage, which is against Russian law. And the Russians, incarcerated her. This was an attack at the Biden administration. This was an attack at really trying to get back at Joe Biden and use Britney Griner for months as a tool, as a way to get to Joe Biden. And as we know, Biden released a criminal, harsh criminal, in exchange for Britney Griner, and there's still people incarcerated in Russia. It was more important to put the signal out there. And I'll get back to Joe Biden in a minute, but it made a bigger difference to bring out a basketball star than any other individual and pay a hefty price. All right, let's fast forward to last week. On Friday, 7-time All-Star was on the court. Alicia on the court. She stood for the national anthem. And that, I think, was a message. She said, look, she agreed with people protesting and speaking out and questioning. She says, that's the American way. But she says, suddenly what you went through, and I'm quoting her, and everything, it just means a little bit more to me now. So I want to be able to stand. I was literally in a cage in Russia and could not stand the way I want to. Just being able to hear my national anthem, see my flag, I definitely want to stand. Now, there's a statement. My national anthem, my flag, I want to stand. It's so sad, Stuart, that Britney Griner had to be incarcerated in Russia, treated terribly, to understand what exactly we cherish in the West and what many are now taking for granted as a God-given right, that, freedom and the flag, national anthem, call it whatever you want, appreciating what you get in the West Hey, all of a sudden, Britney Griner gets it. The sucky part is that the rest of the WNBA celebrated the fact that she was released. But unfortunately, many decided to still protest the flag and still be angry about it, despite the fact that Britney, what they love to call BG, was on the court. But at the same time, Stuart, where I talk about the Biden administration, is they continue to push this, I mean, this whole messaging that life in America sucks. You have your AOCs, Rashida Tlaib's, Cori Bush's, who are coming out with these atrocious policies. Cori Bush wants reparation payments. Doesn't matter what it will do to the country. She is insisting on reparation payments. AOC believes that the United States should become another Venezuela, even though Venezuela is purely bankrupt. Okay, you have a Rashida Tlaib who wants to bring racism. Her and Ilhan Omar wants to bring racism to America,
Oh boy.
furthering all that kind of stuff. And yet, the Biden administration continues to permit anti Americanism, anti Westernism. And here's a perfect example of a person that what did you do to get her back? And what message are you sending to the American people? What you're sending to the American people and to Canadians and to people out west and to the West is, you know what? It doesn't matter. We're going to play politics. We're going to play mind games. We're going to screw you and lie to you to garner votes, but to continue to push that anti-West philosophy, Stuart, sorry, that makes me ill. And I'm glad that Britney Griner is standing up today. Her presence and her, I mean, at 6'7", she is the tallest on the WNBA. Her presence is known. It's obvious. And I'm glad to see her on the court standing for the national anthem.
David, as we've talked about for years now, she will, if she continues with her renewed philosophy of the American dream, an American, how can I say this? The American dream that people come to this country for, and when they discover it, if they don't agree with the radical left, they become the enemy. And so I wonder, how long is it going to take for these other people to start villainizing her, calling her an Uncle Tom, calling her a racist, calling her everything under the sun. And I will stop there with my vernacular, not to offend anyone else. But the reality is, did you expect anything else? If you don't agree with me, you're an Uncle Tom. And that's basically been the philosophy of the left. If you don't agree with me, you're the enemy. And you can't have another opinion but mine. And if you don't think that this is a good idea, well, then I got to destroy you, cut you down, rip you apart. When Biden brought her back, his people, because Biden doesn't know what he's doing, right? His people believed that they were bringing home a spokesperson for their movement. And now look what happens. When you discover and have a unique experience that allows you to discover Americanism, you kind of take a different stand. This country was built on blood, loss of family, right? Loss of loved ones. These borders didn't come very easily. Not the South that Biden has opened up, nor the North. These borders have always been important to preserve the United States of America, which to date stands as the largest, best country in the planet. Sorry,
Well,
David.
well, you know
It,
what? I
it,
know,
it,
but when you have this kind of
Canadians
movement.
hate when I say that.
Well, Canadians are just sitting there laughing at you because you say and I've heard this statement numerous times. Oh, we are the best country in the world, David. You know how
Yeah.
much we're the best country in the world, but you know what
Yep.
but Stuart, you want to know what? The best country in the world is falling apart because you are
I
because
agree. I
because
agree.
you have
David, there's no
because you
question
have
about it. I
when
agree
you
with
have but what does it take for an American citizen to wake up to realize, or somebody, listen, even Canadians, I've got Canadians who are saying Canada's shit, the West is shit. It's just that it's a very much a modern day way of like bitching and borching and whatever. Yeah, go out there. Go out to Africa. Go out to
Yep.
parts of Asia. Go. I
Go
spent
to
a
Russia.
listen. I spent
Go
a
to
week.
Russia.
I spent a week in a conference from people from Vietnam, from Cambodia, from other parts of the world. We had conversations, and the statement was, "You are lucky to be living in the West, Canada, United States, England. You are lucky." And when we discussed life, when we talked about, you know, um, opportunities, when we talked about all that, what we get, health came at here and there. Maybe some countries have some very beautiful advantages, whatever, but I can't tell you how many people want to move and live in the West. They view the West, and it's not because of news, of TV and movies and whatever. It's a reality that what they have is horrifying. And when you talk to people who've lived in Russia, unless you're an oligarch, life isn't so good. And look at what's going on in Ukraine, and look at what's going on in other countries. If you're telling me, and you're to quote you, for those who don't like it, yeah, protest. You want change, protest, effective change, good for you, whatever. But don't change it for me. I'm happy here. Don't change it for others who are happy here. And we're seeing too many of these movements today that are trying to create this change that, you know what? It's just, don't downplay what we have. We have it very well. And unfortunately, when we see the policies by Biden and his cronies and his left-wing lunatics, a Bernie Sanders who sits and craps all over the United States, and raises, Rashida Tlaib's arm in excitement because she is talking about, the Nakba, the great Palestinian disaster, the catastrophe that was Israel's Independence Day. You're bringing no, you Stuart, you're bringing this is you're creating more of this anti-West sentiment because Israel is part of the West, and you're promoting this sentiment, and
So
that's what makes me ill.
ironically, this whole Palestinian thing is actually a Russian invention.
Well,
From
that, yeah, but people
Yeah,
don't
I
know
mean,
that, and let's rant
it's just
about
sort
that
of
another day.
ironic. It's sort of ironic that the most anti-American people are both also anti-Israel,
Yep,
and you know
absolutely.
what? They're all promoting a Russian agenda, which
And
is just hilarious. I mean, the Kremlin
that's
must
it.
be in tears laughing.
Every time, every single time. And you know what, Stuart? At the point right now today, and I applaud Brittany Griner, because Brittany Griner could have come back to the United States and said, screw the United States, to hell with America, life is crap. She could have continued all that trope that she'd been saying before she, back in 2020. And I'm impressed with her because I don't agree with her on a lot of things, but I'm glad she finally stood up and said, you know what? I'm going to stand for the flag. I'm going to stand for the anthem. Appreciate where you are. Affect change. I give you that. But what she has done, is send a message to all Americans. You know what, guys? We have it good.
David, that's all for today.
Looking forward to being home on Wednesday.
I'm looking forward to hearing from you at your home office or your office. Guys, that's the end of today's broadcast. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation, gained some valuable insight. Clearly, sports, even though that I'm the ex-athlete in the room, I clearly have no idea what goes on the WNBA, NBA, NFL, whatever nudge you want to put there, soccer. I'm just oblivious. We appreciate your support. I hope you will join us next time in hopefully a more thought-provoking conversation that I can add a little common sense every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. In the meantime, don't forget to follow us on social media. Guys, likes, PM us, share us, link us, whatever you need to do, please do so. Whether you catch us on the audio or you catch us on the podcast video, remember, we're always interested in hearing from you, our viewers, our listeners, about whatever topic that matters most to you as well. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, keep on ranting.